So are you ready for your mind to be blown? That's what Hal Jordan asks his friend Thomas Kalmaku at one point, who says he's ready but isn't really. I wasn't ready either. I think maybe that's just one of those questions you should never say yes to. I was afraid this was going to be another Green Hornet style debacle. The previews just weren't quite clear. It was entirely possible that Ryan Reynolds was playing the character for laughs, just like Seth Rogen did as the Green Hornet, and I was afraid. I was almost terrified, actually. But I conquered that fear, went to the theater, and had a good time, as it turned out. People are already making cutesy little puns, though, about how it's light on plot. I accidentally saw some of the headlines. And I'm not arguing with that, but it kind of misses the point. Plot is not the main attraction here, I admit that, but they didn't set out to make it plot-heavy. It's a star-spanning action-adventure movie in the best tradition of summer action-adventure flicks. I mean, what you're supposed to do is get your popcorn, settle back comfortably in your chair, and just let the action and adventure wash all over you. Anyway, Ryan Reynolds is Hal Jordan, ace test pilot for Ferris Aircraft. He's a total screw-up at everything except flying, though. He oversleeps with women he barely knows, shows no respect for traffic laws, and good luck getting him to remember anything like someone else's birthday. Even his best friend Tom calls him something that I can't repeat here, and Hal has to admit that it's a fair assessment. See, that's why it works, I think. He's self-centered, stubborn, reckless, and chauvinistic, but he admits that he's self-centered, stubborn, reckless, and chauvinistic, so you don't hate him as much as you might expect. Sometimes he seems overwhelmed by his own doubtful qualities, and he just stands there looking lost for a little while. Ferris Aircraft's other best pilot is Carol Ferris, and yes, she's the boss's daughter. I think she might hurt you if you suggest that's how she got the title of other best pilot, though. The actress is Blake Lively from The Town, and she's very pretty. She reminds me of Jane Seymour sometimes. Anyway, she and Hal fly a couple of F-35s in a demonstration of Ferris Aircraft's newest invention, an AI-controlled fighter plane called the Sabre III. No word on what happened to Sabres 1 and 2. This demonstration is to impress Senator Hammond, played by Tim Robbins, who's very important and therefore worth impressing. I think he's on every subcommittee that Washington has. Hal, however, takes his assignment of putting the planes through their paces a little too seriously and gets fired. Sort of. Maybe he quits. It's a little confusing at that point. Frankly, I'm not sure he even actually knew what his assignment was to begin with. Meanwhile, out in space, a purplish alien named Abin Sur is fighting a really big, scary thing called Parallax and losing. Abin Sur is played by Temuera Morrison, who was in Star Wars Episode 3 somewhere, but we won't hold that against him. He's Green Lantern, said to be the greatest member the Green Lantern Corps ever had, but when he crashes down to Earth, he's dying, and so he sends his ring to choose his successor. Sorry, I should probably back up a little bit. I've read bunches of Green Lantern comics, so I know all this stuff backwards and forwards. Basically, the Green Lantern Corps is like the UN peacekeepers for the entire galaxy, only they can really do stuff. The rings harness the power of willpower. Okay, that's, redundant, but you know what I mean. Anything they can imagine, they can create, as long as their will is strong enough. See, this is why they couldn't make this comic book into a movie sooner. The special effects industry just wasn't up to it before. Half the stuff in this flick needs to look like it's made out of shiny green energy or is part of an alien world or something like that. They show Oa, the home base of the Green Lanterns, and let me say that the look they gave to the Immortal Guardians who originally created the Corps was excellent. I really liked it. If willpower is green, though, and I have to admit I'm not really sure why that would be, then fear, more understandably, is yellow. In the comics, the rings didn't work on anything yellow, which, yeah, is kind of a silly weakness. The second anyone figures it out, all the bad guys will have names like Banana Man and Evil Lemon. But that isn't quite the case here. It's more that fear and will are opposite sides of the same coin, which does make sense. The problems aren't all out in space, though. There's plenty to keep Hal busy on Earth, too. Peter Sarsgaard of Night and Day is Senator Hammond's son, Hector, who's a xenobiologist. Xenobiologists must be desperate for some actual alien life, and this particular xenobiologist actually gets to study some. Unfortunately, it kind of bites him, and things go pretty crazily downhill for him after that. The point is, it was fun. It had exactly as much plot as a comic book should have, and since I went in there fully prepared to dislike it, the fact that I didn't dislike it at all is significant, I think. And the other people in the audience seemed pretty into it, too. They actually laughed at the funny parts, which sounds like a little thing, but trust me, people tend not to laugh out loud in theaters anymore, even at comedies. It's really kind of sad. Anyway, I give this one 3.5 out of 5. It would have been 3 3/4, but it was a little uneven in parts, I admit that. Hal's backstory is just sort of wedged in there, and it's rushed in places, though that nearly always happens with the comic book movies, especially the first ones. I think sometimes the filmmakers get overexcited because they suddenly realize that they have years' worth of storyline and material piled up, and they try to jam as much of it into the movie as they possibly can. On the other hand, that gives those of us who actually read the comics the chance to catch tons and tons of in-jokes and references, like Tomar-Re, Kilowog, and of course, the significance of Sapphire as a code name.